Hello everyone. My name is Sara Hakimi. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be among you all. And it was really interesting hearing your research papers. As I said, my name is Sara Hakimi. I'm a former Afghan diplomat working in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I was a desk officer for counter narcotics and counterterrorism. But before that, I worked in research and policy analysis with different public private sectors. My particular focus is Middle East and South Asia regions, where I write and I also research about counter narcotics, counterterrorism, extremism initiatives, deep understanding of political and military dynamics involving non-state actors. I earned a degree in International Security Studies from Georgetown University, concentrating in sub-state violence and terrorism. Today, I am presenting to you a paper which is about the drug economy after the Taliban's takeover in August 2021. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So the research paper I wrote is about Afghanistan's drug economy, implications of the Taliban opium ban. So this paper analyzed Afghanistan's decades of long drug economy during the Republic era. That was really a brief overview of what policies we had during the Republic era, how the implications were effective, and how that turned out while the Taliban take over in August 2021 and the opium ban verdict was in place in 2022. It also examines the economic, political, and regional implications of the ban and the shift towards synthetics. So here the paper really did not focus on Afghanistan only, but also regional countries and neighbor countries, how this demand and supply chains and the trafficking routes around the Asia and Europe change the dynamics of the drug trafficking. Also, in the key findings, the paper highlights the economic, social, political ramification of the ban on the people of Afghanistan, including the farmers, and how it impacted the regional global drug markets. The methodology I used for this paper is like a mixed method of both quantitative and qualitative research, literature reviews, and United Nations and other NGOs data sets and satellite imagery. I did some expert interviews with Afghan officials and analysts who work in the field of counter narcotics. I tried to bring a lot of data sources in order to make sure that the findings are credible and reliable. The only limitation, or among the limitations I had writing this paper, I wanted to do a field interview of people or farmers to see how the drug ban really impacted their lives. But because of constraints under the Taliban rule, insecurity, and people not being able to share those sensitive information, I was not able to do field interviews. But jumping into the very main content of the paper, I would start first with the Republic area. I will give you very brief that during the Republic area, we have a lot of policies, or we would say like agreements with our neighboring countries in order to tackle the issue of narcotics. But there was like very main issues that I will just list them in three areas. The first one, lack of a political will, that most of the countries, including the institutes within Afghanistan, didn't have that sorry, political will to tackle this issue. Then regional countries like Pakistan, Iran, they were like benefiting from this traffic within revenues of that, as there were like transnational criminal networks and drug cartels that were into this business, and it was really hard to for the government of Afghanistan, the Republic government of Afghanistan, to find the roots of this and kind of abolish this thing. And there was insecurity and insurgency in rural areas where the public cultivation, they was going on, and they couldn't like really implement those policies and eradicate the public cultivation in the very larger area of like northern and also western provinces of Afghanistan. But when the Taliban took over in August 2021, as their first rule, they wanted to put one of their focus on public cultivation and also the opium in Herat. So in April 2022, Taliban leader Hibatullah issued a verdict saying that cultivation of opium is not Islamic, it's banned, and with whoever do this, it will be harsh consequences. And by that time, farmers stopped the cultivation and everything, but there was one specific point about this verdict and the timeline. Since the verdict and the timeline was announced in April 2022 and was into effect, not into effect until beginning of 2023. So the 2022 harvest was not impacted. So whoever the farmers had their harvest, they took their harvest, and there was no challenges or lawful implications on that. I will come to this, that why this mattered. But if we see the overall view of like what we found through our research in this paper, I would say that 95% decline we saw in the opium cultivation between 22 to 2023. There was a very geographic shift toward northeastern provinces of Afghanistan in 2024. So if we see the very chart here, we can see in this chart is from 2000 to 2024. We see how the very opium production and cultivation from 2000 to 2024 has been declined after the verdict of Taliban and Taliban takeover. And also, as I said, second part, there was a geographic shift in opium cultivation. In this chart, we can see that this is taken from UNDC. We can see the regional distribution of the opium cultivation, that at first it was very high in southwestern and western, which borders with Pakistan, but then it was shifted to north and northeastern, which borders much more with the Central Asian countries like Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. So this, what we found through the very first ruling years of the Taliban. And the other thing was like the wealthy landowners benefited from the price spikes, while the poor farmers suffered from income loss, because the wealthy farmers had like larger and bigger hectares of land, and they cultivated a lot of opium, and when they got it from that, they kind of stockpiled it, because once the Taliban banned the whole opium cultivation, this caused the prices to surge. There was inequality between demand and supply. So those who had a very good stockpiles, they really got benefit from that while the prices was very higher than before, but the farmers that had very small hectares of land and they just were cultivating the opium for their daily income, they couldn't do it, and they suffered more than those drug lords and those who wanted to kind of cultivate opium. And one more chart is here. It shows Helmand province, that there was a very super reduction in opium cultivation in Helmand province, which is very dominant in this area. In 2022, we can see the areas, and in 2023, so how the reduction help. So this shows the green that they started cultivating with instead of poppy. So this analysis comes from the satellite imagery of the ALCSIS. Then about the trafficking and trade of it, we've said the trade persists through stockpiles, as I mentioned before, and the trafficking network and drug cartels. And the other issue was the growing production of methamphetamine as an alternative drug market that I will tell you about it, what I found through my research. And but I found that there was some political risks to this opium ban, that Taliban faced some minor backlashes from rural communities, but that was tackled through very harsh policing of the Taliban, and there was not much going on in order to someone from the rural areas of farmers to revolt and protest against the Taliban's opium ban. Coming to the issue of methamphetamine, I put this in the paper because there was very interesting finding here, because the very traditional
Sorry to interrupt you, Sara. Could you please conclude? We are almost running out of time.
Sure. The methamphetamine part of it was the Taliban shifted to synthetic, and this was Herat, Nimroz, and Farah, and it was more profit in the margin than heroin. So the analysis of the whole paper would be that there was a short-term success, but long-term, we couldn't see any sustainability in this. I analyzed that this ban, it was mainly to gain international legitimacy and leverage for the Taliban, and higher prices in order to push the market towards synthetics and other drugs. The recommendations, I have two parts for national levels for the Taliban or the government, de facto government, to enforce anti-narcotic laws, destroy stockpiles, invest rural development, alternative livelihoods, or expand addiction treatment and healthcare success, which is very odd to expect from the de facto government. But for in regional and international, I had recommendations to strengthen border control precursor monitoring, revive regional cooperation, support track 2 diplomacy, and invest in demand reduction treatment programs. To conclude, I would say that the whole paper examined the opium ban reduced the cultivation dramatically, but without coordinated regional action and long-term rural development, Afghanistan drug economy will persist, and the shifting towards synthetics, methamphetamine, creating new humanitarian challenges. So that was all from me, and happy to get your questions. Thank you.